Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on NTD Television. I'm Steve Lance. The Democrat-controlled House today pushed through a bill to ban certain types of guns, including semi-automatic pistols and rifles, guns which Democrats are calling assault weapons, but Republicans are saying it's a mischaracterization and an effort to disarm citizens. Here's NTD's Melina Wisecup with the details.
For the first time in 2 decades, Congress is taking up a bill to ban assault weapons. This is one of those votes that's not entirely split down party lines. There are some Republicans who are for this assault weapons ban, while some Democrats are against it. The so-called assault weapons ban of 2022 aims to make it a crime to import, sell, manufacture, transfer, or possess a semi-automatic assault weapon or a large-capacity ammunition feeding device. It would also require gun dealers to conduct background checks before sales and transfers.
I think the best, most important thing to do is to have background checks. That probably saves the most lives on the ongoing.
The House bill does not confiscate guns or magazines from people, but Republicans say it's still a step too far.
This bill would end the sale of some of the most popular rifles sold in America today, impacting the sporting industry and all of those who rely on it for their livelihood.
The bill contains a long list of rifles, pistols, and more that Democrats aim to ban. Democrats refer to guns like AR-15s as weapons of war.
Assault weapons, in my view, are designed for one purpose. They're weapons of war to kill a lot of people quickly.
A characterization that Republicans call an attempt to deliberately mislead Americans in order to pave a path for stripping law-abiding citizens of their right to own a gun.
An AR-15 is a sporting rifle. It's a semi-automatic. It is not the kind of platform that is used by the military. It's not an M16. It's on M4. But again, the other side tries to use this to muddy the waters, confuse the American people, and to put all firearms in the same category.
Now, this assault weapons ban is not going to pass the Senate, so it's largely symbolic. Another symbolic type of legislation that the House is working on right now are public safety measures. So House Speaker Pelosi told reporters today that in August, she plans to bring to the floor legislation to grant more funding for police, as Democrats are trying to decouple themselves from the defund the police narratives with midterms just around the corner. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Melina Wisecup, NTD News.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is headed to Asia tonight. She'll visit a number of allies in the region, but will not confirm whether she will make a stop in Taiwan. The potential for a top U.S. diplomat to visit the self-governing island provoked a stark warning this week from the Chinese Communist Party. Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping told Biden in a phone call that, quote, "If you play with fire, you will get burned. I hope the U.S. side can see this clearly." That's according to China's state-run news agency. Republican Representative Michael McCaul was invited to join Pelosi in her trip, but declined. McCaul has repeatedly urged Pelosi to make the trip. However, he has declined her invitation, citing a scheduling conflict. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said yesterday that the economy has not fallen into a recession. She said that consumer spending is up while unemployment is down. She added that most economists define recession as a broad-based weakening of the economy, with many businesses shutting down and mass layoffs.
That is not what we're seeing right now. When you look at the economy, job creation is continuing. Household finances remain strong. Consumers are spending and businesses are growing.
Her remarks came on the same day the Commerce Department revealed that the GDP fell 2 quarters in a row. When the economy shrinks for 2 consecutive quarters, that is the main indicator of a recession. Former President Trump said at an Arizona rally last week that something far worse than a recession was coming.
Where we're going now could be a very bad place. We got to get this act in order. We have to get this country going, or we're going to have a serious problem. Not recession. Recession's a nice word. We're going to have a much bigger problem than recession. We'll have a depression.
Trump said that Biden created the worst inflation in 47 years. Among Trump's criticism of Biden, he singled out what he calls Biden's war on American energy for driving up gas prices. Trump told the audience that America was prosperous and gas was under $2 per gallon during his administration. With the economy feeling a tremendous amount of pain, we had a chance to speak to a very successful businesswoman, a former Trump administration official, SBA Administrator Linda McMahon. Mrs. Linda McMahon, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
President Trump paved the way for a very strong economy just prior to COVID hitting the United States. You were a big part of that. What do you think were some of those foundational principles, if you will, that allowed the United States economy to flourish?
I think the economy flourished because President Trump was a businessman. And he understood what businesses needed in order to flourish. He understood that a reduction in taxes would mean, and I confirmed this with small businesses that I talked to, those tax reductions and the tax relief that small businesses received, they reinvested in their businesses. They hired more people. They had the ability to grow their companies or their businesses, and it added to a flourishing economy at that particular time. So when we look at what was achieved under the Trump administration relative to the economy, relative to business, it was really flourishing, as you said, before COVID came. And I think that's one of the reasons coming out of COVID, even when President Trump left office and President Biden came in, the economy was able to have as strong a start as it did because it had such a good base under the Trump administration before he left.
Another major rate hike in the coming days. What do you think that's going to do to the economy moving forward?
Well, I think the Fed is raising rates because they're trying to stem this inflation. That's the highest we've had, in over 40 years. And so they have to take some action to do that. But what does that do? I always kind of get back to a lot of small businesses because 99% of the businesses in this country are small businesses. So what impacts small businesses really does impact the economy. So with interest rates going up, it makes it tougher for them to get loans and to pay off those loans. And think about a lot of small businesses that really do run on their credit cards. So with the interest rates going up, it makes it very, very difficult for them. And then what does it do to their suppliers? What does it do to the consumers who are going in, to the stores to buy things that are at higher rates, especially when we're looking at the average worker who's going, well, maybe I did get an increase, but I certainly didn't get an increase that's commensurate or even better than, what inflation is. So I'm negative. And it really does have a drag on our economy. And under the Trump administration, NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, their reports on small businesses were that the optimism from small businesses at that time was at an all-time high. And now we're looking at that optimism, and that's always a barometer for me.
Before I let you go, I just want to ask you one last question when it comes to small businesses and the lockdowns. What effect do you think that the lockdowns had in the long run when it comes to American small business?
Well, in terms of the lockdown, I thought it was devastating to small businesses. Many small businesses couldn't recover. They just had to go out of businesses. Some of them were creative. We know of a lot of restaurants who just went to curbside pickup and those kinds of things, just really to keep the lights on. PPP helped them, for sure. Some of those loans to keep employees employed, for a short period of time. So the government underwriting, some of that did help. But I think that in the long run, small businesses suffered greatly, and some of them were never able to recover.
Linda McMahon, thank you.
Thank you.
U.S. Representative Dean Phillips, a Democrat, says he will not be backing President Joe Biden's run for re-election in 2024. The 53-year-old Minnesota congressman becomes one of the first elected Democrats to say that directly. Washington, D.C. saw another rare moment of bipartisanship last night. Democratic and Republican lawmakers competed in the annual Congressional baseball game.
Look, we're all competitive people up here. We ran races to get elected to Congress. You battle for the things you believe in. You want your bill to pass. You want their bill to fail. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of camaraderie, too. We get to know the Democrats really well.
The Republicans shut out the Democrats 10-0 in 7 innings. During the 4th inning, heavy rain caused a 40-minute delay. The Congressional baseball game started in 1909, and it helps to support several local charities. This year raised over $1.5 million. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.